Ever tried to impress someone and immediately wished you could just disappear? Like in your head, you looked insanely cool, but in reality, everyone's just standing there thinking, why would you do that? Yeah, that feeling. Today we're going through 31 moments that all started with a very confident, watch this, and ended with, yeah, that probably wasn't a good idea. From prom nights to the gym to hopeful first dates, nobody is safe from these reputation self-destruct moments. And trust me, it only gets worse as we go. Alright, let's start with one guy who really thought prom was his stage. Story 1. The prom dance that was supposed to be legendary and the fall in front of the entire school. This guy wanted to impress his crush, and in his mind, prom was his moment to shine. The music starts and he confidently walks to the center of the floor like this is his show. He starts freestyling, moving with the beat, throwing in little glances at his crush, like, you seeing this? A few people start noticing, and yeah, now he's feeling himself even more. Everything is going fine until he pulls out his signature move. The grand finale. The move he thinks will make the whole room go crazy. Yeah, about that. In 1 second, everything collapses. He slips, loses balance, and goes straight down in front of hundreds of people. The music is still playing, but nobody's dancing anymore. Everyone is just watching him. And that's the moment it hits him. He didn't just hit the floor. He hit rock bottom. If you thought that was bad, just wait for the next one. Story 2. Pretending to be rich and getting your card declined in front of your crush. He thought the best way to impress his crush was to look rich. So he picked a restaurant that just screams, "This is gonna hurt your wallet," and walked in like he owned the place. When it was time to order, he didn't even look at the prices. Just picked the most expensive items, smiling like this is nothing. During the meal, he was relaxed, talking confidently, throwing in a few glances at his crush, like, you seeing this? And then, the moment arrived. The waiter brings the bill. He stays calm, pulls out his card, hands it over like a boss. A few seconds later, the waiter comes back. "Sorry, your card was declined." He forces a smile. Probably just a machine error. They try again, still declined. Now it's quiet. Like, uncomfortably quiet. The only thing left is his crush looking straight at him. And that's when it hits him. Confidence can impress people, but it can't pay the bill. From your wallet to your muscles. Story 3. Lifting heavy to impress and not being able to lift it. This guy wanted to impress everyone at the gym by lifting heavier than usual. He slowly adds more plates, but more importantly, he keeps glancing around to make sure people are watching. Once he notices a few eyes on him, he gives a small nod like light work. He grabs the bar, takes a deep breath, and starts lifting. The bar moves just a little, and then stops. His face goes from confident to stressed real fast. He tries again, puts all his strength into it, still not moving. And now he's stuck halfway. Can't push it up, can't bring it down either. People around him start realizing something's off. In the end, he has to ask someone nearby to help take the weight off while trying to act like, yeah, I had it under control. And that's when it hits him. He wanted attention, but ended up needing assistance. There are places even more pressure than the gym. Story 4. Flexing in front of the boss and ending up presenting to the whole team. This guy wanted to impress his boss by showing off his skills in what was supposed to be a normal meeting. While everyone was discussing, he jumps in with full confidence saying he's really good at that area, like he's just waiting for a chance to prove it. A few people nod and now he's sitting a little straighter, feeling like he just scored big points. And then the boss turns to him and says, "Great, go ahead and present it to the team." The room goes quiet instantly, all eyes on him. He stands up, gives a small smile like he's still in control, but his mind is completely blank. He starts talking, a few generic sentences, trying to buy time, but the more he talks, the more off track he gets. The vibe gets awkward real fast as everyone realizes he doesn't actually know what he's talking about, and that's when it hits him. His confidence disappeared faster than the meeting itself. At least this one didn't end up online. Story 5. Faking a luxury life online and getting called out instantly. This girl wanted to impress people online by looking like she lived a rich and effortless life. Her Instagram was full of photos at fancy cafes, luxury hotels, designer bags, perfectly framed shots every single time. From the outside, it looked like she was living the dream. But the reality was most of it was rented, borrowed, or just photographed and returned. She put a lot of effort into angles, lighting, captions, because as long as it looked right, that was enough. And everything was working until one day she posted a photo with a brand new designer bag. A few minutes later, a comment popped up. "Wait, isn't that my bag?" Yeah, that's when everything shifted. The same people who were liking her posts started looking at everything differently. And that's when it hit her. You can create a perfect image, but you can't hold on to it forever. Some people try to act smart. Story 6. Solving a math problem in front of your crush and getting everything wrong. This guy wanted to impress his crush with his intelligence. The moment the teacher asked, "Who wants to go to the board?" his hand shot up instantly, faster than his own thinking. In his head, this was the perfect moment. Solve the problem, turn around, look at his crush instant points. He walks up to the board fully confident. Chalk hits the board and he just starts writing. No hesitation. Like everything is already figured out. A few classmates start paying attention and now he's writing even faster. Thinking speed makes him look more legit. And then, things start going off track. Numbers stop matching. Formulas start falling apart. The teacher's expression slowly shifts from hopeful to suspicious. The whole class goes quiet, and he just keeps writing, because stopping now would be even worse. When he finally turns around, nobody says anything. And that's when it hits him. He didn't solve a single problem, except how to embarrass himself. At least he could still speak. Story 7. Telling a joke and nobody laughs. This guy wanted to impress the whole group with his sense of humor. Everyone's just sitting around talking, and he decides this is his moment. Time to take the spotlight. He clears his throat a little, gets people's attention, and starts telling a joke he's absolutely sure will land. He tells it with full confidence, pauses in the right places, adds emphasis like a real comedian. A few people start looking at him, and now he's even more convinced he's killing it. He builds up to the big moment, stops for a second, and delivers the punchline with full expectation. And then, nothing. No laughter, no reaction, just silence. The kind that gets uncomfortable real fast. Someone looks down at their phone. Someone else gives a polite nod. And that's when it hits him. Sometimes silence is the loudest answer. And yes, some people manage to make it even worse. Story 8. Pretending to like your crush's hobby and getting invited for real. This girl wanted to impress her crush, so she decided it would be easier if they shared the same interests. When her crush mentioned liking hiking, she immediately nodded. "Oh, I like that too." Said it so fast even she surprised herself. In her head it was just a harmless line. You know, something to create a connection. But yeah, life said no. Her crush smiles and goes, "Great, let's go this weekend." And right there her smile starts getting a little stiff. Her brain goes into panic mode. What kind of hiking do I need training for this? Can I fake knowing how to hike? Weekend comes. She's standing in front of an actual trail. Brand new shoes. Trying to act like she knows what she's doing. A few steps in and she realizes it. She does not belong here. And that's when it hits her. Sometimes you climb into a lie and have no idea how to get back down. At least she didn't ruin a party. Story 9. Playing DJ at a party and killing the vibe. This guy thought he could level up the entire party just with his playlist. When he noticed the music was getting a little too safe, he stepped in and offered to take over, confidently saying something like, "I got the vibe." In his head, this was his moment. Turn a normal party into something unforgettable. At first, everything was fine. People were dancing, laughing, and he started feeling like he nailed it. But a few songs in, he starts switching tracks non-stop, following his personal taste, from hip-hop to EDM, then suddenly a slow song nobody understands. Yeah, that's where things fall apart. The rhythm breaks, and so does the vibe. People on the dance floor start slowing down, looking at each other like they're trying to figure out what just happened. Within minutes, the crowded dance floor starts emptying out. Some people go back to talking, others just leave. And that's when it hits him. He didn't make the party better, he made it disappear. From music to straight-up lies. Story 10. Lying about your job and getting exposed by simple questions. This guy didn't want to sound average, so he decided to upgrade his job into something way cooler. When talking to new people, he starts describing a high-level position like he's always busy with big projects and important decisions. The way he talks is so smooth, people are nodding along, and now he's feeling more confident with every sentence. Everything is going fine until the other person starts asking for details. So what do you actually do every day? Sounds simple, right? Yeah, not for him. He pauses for a second, then tries to answer in the most vague way possible. But the deeper the questions go, the weaker his answers get. The vibe slowly shifts from impressed to suspicious. And at some point, even he realizes he can't keep the story going anymore. And that's when it hits him. The story sounded amazing until it needed details. Some people don't even lie and still fail. Story 11, flexing in the mirror and getting filmed for the internet. This guy thought it was the perfect moment to get attention at the gym. Standing in front of the mirror, he starts posing, flexing adjusting angles to look as cool as possible. Every now and then, he glances around to make sure people are watching, then goes right back to his personal performance. In his head, this was just a normal, confident moment. But what he didn't know, someone behind him was recording the whole thing. Everything. From the serious expressions to the slightly over-the-top poses. A few days later, the video shows up online. And suddenly what he thought was a mirror moment turns into a moment in front of the entire internet. People who have never even met him have now seen everything. And that's when it hits him. Sometimes you're just trying to impress yourself in the mirror and accidentally impress the whole world. At least he didn't have to compete for real. Story 12. Claiming you're good at sports and getting pulled into a game. This guy talked like a pro even though his real experience came from watching sports on a screen. At a hangout, when people started talking about basketball, he kept jumping in with lines like, "That's easy," or "I do this all the time." The confidence was so convincing a few people actually believed him. And yeah, the opportunity came way faster than he expected. A casual game gets organized and he's immediately pulled onto a team. At first he tries to stay calm, but just a few minutes in, everything starts showing. He's running to the wrong spots, bad passes, missing easy plays. The vibe slowly turns awkward as people realize what's going on, and then he gets subbed out. Reason? Let's switch players to keep it fair. Yeah, classic. And that's when it hits him. He talked like a pro but played like a beginner. Some people fail right in the meeting room. Story 13. Pretending to understand in a meeting and giving the wrong answer. This guy didn't want to look out of place in a meeting, so he played it safe and just nodded along. As everyone discussed a pretty complex project, he kept nodding, taking light notes, even throwing in a casual, "Yeah, makes sense," like he had everything under control. In his head, as long as he looked like he understood, that was good enough. But yeah, the moment came. The manager turns to him and asks, "What do you think about this part?" The room goes quiet. All eyes on him. He gives a small smile and starts answering with confidence. But just a few sentences in, things start going off track. He drifts off topic, mixes up concepts, and the more he tries to explain, the more confusing it gets. The vibe shifts from normal to slightly awkward, and that's when it hits him. He understood nothing, but acted like he understood everything. At least there was no accident. Story 14. Dancing too hard and causing an accident. This guy didn't just want to blend into the party, he wanted to be remembered. When the music hit its peak, he stepped out and started dancing like this was his personal stage. Big arm movements, bigger steps. In his head, this was the moment to impress. At first, a few people around him laughed and cheered. And yeah, that only made him go harder. More energy, more spins, completely forgetting about the space around him. He takes one big step back without looking. And then it happens. Boom! He crashes straight into the table behind him. Drinks spill everywhere. Glasses, bottles, everything hits the floor. The music is still playing, but the vibe gone. All eyes turn to him. Not excitement anymore, just shock. And that's when it hits him. He brought the energy and the chaos. Some people fail right at the dinner table. Story 15. Ordering fancy food and not knowing how to eat it. This guy didn't want the date to feel basic, so he decided to upgrade the experience with something fancy. Sitting with his crush, he opens the menu and picks a dish with a long, complicated name that already sounds expensive. In his head, choosing the right dish is already a win. Then the food arrives. Looks amazing, but also kind of intimidating. Too many utensils. Strange presentation. And he slowly realizes he has no idea where to start. But instead of asking, he pretends like he's done this 100 times. He grabs the fork and knife a little awkward, tries to cut, tries to pick it up, and then yeah, a piece of food drops straight onto the table. He forces a smile, tries to play it off like nothing happened, but it just gets more awkward. And that's when it hits him. The dish might be fancy, but the outcome, not so much. Some people even fake their entire life. Story 16. Renting a fake lifestyle and getting exposed. This girl didn't want to look average online, so she decided to build a luxury lifestyle image. Every photo was carefully planned. Fancy cafes, perfect angles, and most importantly, items that looked insanely expensive. But in reality, everything was rented or borrowed just for the pictures. She put a lot of effort into creating that perfect vibe. The lighting had to be right, the angles had to be clean. Even the captions had to feel natural, like this was just a normal day for her. And when she posted, it worked. Likes went up, compliments started coming in. Everything was going exactly as planned, until one small detail ruined it. Someone she knew saw the photo and left a comment. "Wait, isn't that my bag?" Yeah, instant shift. The same people who believed it before started questioning everything. And that's when it hits her. You can rent the look, but you can't rent the truth. Some people don't fake it, they just lose control. Story 17. Drinking too much to impress and losing control. This guy didn't want to look weak in front of his friends, so he decided to prove he could handle his drinks. As soon as people started ordering, he jumped right in. Glass after glass, even throwing out challenges like, "Don't worry, I got this." In his head, this was the fastest way to become more interesting. At first, everything was fun. He was laughing louder, talking more, feeling like he had everything under control. But after a few rounds, things start going off track. His voice gets louder than usual. Stories stop making sense. Movements get sloppy. And he keeps drinking even when his body is clearly done. And just like that, he goes from the most fun guy at the table to the one everyone's watching, wondering if he's okay. The vibe shifts from excited to slightly concerned. And that's when it hits him. He wanted to be interesting, but ended up becoming the problem. Some people try to act cool. Story 18. Trying to act cool and coming off as disrespectful. This guy thought the best way to impress people was to act cool and mysterious. At a gathering while everyone was chatting and having fun, he chose to stand slightly apart. Short answers. Occasional nods. In his head, the less he said, the cooler he looked. You know, the type who doesn't try but still stands out. At first, a few people tried to talk to him, but the more they tried, the more they got back short, emotionless replies. Someone tells a funny story, he just looks and nods. Someone asks for his opinion. He answers with one word. The vibe slowly turns awkward. People start talking to each other instead, leaving him out completely. And he keeps the same attitude, not realizing anything is wrong. And that's when it hits him. He thought he was being mysterious and attractive. But to everyone else, he just looked disrespectful. Some people choose the internet. Story 19. Following a trend and completely missing it. This girl saw a trend blowing up all over social media and decided she had to keep up. After watching a few clips on repeat, she confidently thought, "This is easy. Anyone can do this." In her head, this was the video that would impress her friends. She sets up her phone, finds the angle, turns on the music, and starts. And right from the first few seconds, yeah, something's off. Her moves are behind the beat. Facial expressions don't match the vibe. And the more she goes, the more it feels nothing like what she watched. But instead of stopping, she tells herself, just post it. Nobody will notice. Yeah, sure. The video goes up. Not long after, her friends start watching, and the reactions are not what she expected. Some drop laughing emojis. Others send the clip back with, "Are you sure about this?" And that's when it hits her. She didn't keep up with the trend. She completely missed it. At least nobody got hurt. Story 20. Pushing too hard at the gym and needing to be saved. This guy saw everyone at the gym looking pro, so he decided it was time to level up and impress. Instead of starting with something basic, he jumped straight into a high-intensity cardio workout he saw on TikTok. In his head, all he has to do is keep up for a few minutes and people will notice. He starts strong, fast running, non-stop jumping, sharp movements like he's done this before. But after a short while, things start falling apart. His breathing gets heavy, his legs slow down, his form goes off. Still, he keeps going, because stopping now would feel worse. And then his body says no, he has to stop completely. Stands still for a few seconds, then sits down like he just survived something. Someone nearby brings him water and asks if he's okay. And that's when it hits him. He didn't level up, he almost powered down. Some people completely freeze. Story 21. Showing off knowledge in class and getting called to the board. This guy didn't want to just sit and listen, he wanted everyone to know he got it. During the lesson, while the teacher was explaining, he kept nodding, even jumping in with lines like, "Yeah, I already know this." In his head, this was an easy way to impress the whole class, especially his crush sitting nearby. At first, the teacher just looked at him normally. But then, the moment nobody asked for. She turns to him and says, "Great, come up and solve it for the class." The room goes silent instantly. He stands up with a slightly forced smile, grabs the chalk, looks at the board, and his mind is completely blank. He kind of remembers the formula, but can't piece it together. He writes a few lines hoping something will stick, but the more he writes, the more wrong it gets. And that's when it hits him. He volunteered confidence. Not the answer. Some people even try to teach others. Story 22. Teaching someone at the gym and getting the technique wrong. This guy saw someone new at the gym and immediately thought this was his moment to impress. No one asked, but he walks over and starts coaching like a real trainer. In his head, dropping a few technical terms is enough to look experienced. He explains the exercises, adjusts posture, even demonstrates a few moves himself. The problem is his technique isn't actually correct. The other person follows along, but something looks off. A more experienced gym goer nearby notices, walks over, and calmly fixes the entire form. That moment. The vibe gets a little awkward when it's clear who actually knows what they're doing. He just stands there trying to act like, I was just helping. And that's when it hits him. He didn't teach anyone. He just got a full lesson himself. Some people even mess up at work. Story 23. Claiming experience and messing up the job. This guy wanted to stand out in front of his boss, so he decided to oversell his experience a little. In a meeting when a big project came up, he quickly volunteered with full confidence like, "I do this all the time." In his head, this was the perfect chance to score points. At first, everything seemed fine. He kept nodding, took notes like he was on top of everything, walked out of the meeting feeling like he made a strong impression. But once he actually started working, reality hit different. Important details he thought he understood weren't as clear as he believed. He tried to figure it out, did things the way that felt right. But the more he worked, the more messy it got. And when the results came in, the mistakes were obvious. The work didn't just miss the mark, it created more problems for the whole team. And that's when it hits him. He promised results, but delivered problems. Some people take flexing a little too far. Story 24. Flexing a luxury car that isn't even yours. This guy wanted to impress his friends, so he decided to show up in a car that looked seriously expensive. He pulls up, parks in front of the group, steps out with full confidence like this is just a normal day for him. Then he starts talking about the car, the engine, the speed, sounding like the actual owner. People around him start paying attention. A few are clearly impressed, and that just makes him go even harder. He even opens the door, showing off the inside like he's giving a full tour of his own car. And then someone walks up, looks at the car, and goes, "Wait, why is my car here?" Instant shift. Those impressed looks, gone. Now it's just awkward silence. He's standing there with nothing to say. Confidence disappears real fast, and that's when it hits him. The car is definitely nice, just not his. Some people fail at basic communication. Story 25. Trying to fit into a new group and making it awkward. This guy just joined a new group and decided the best way to impress was to fit in as fast as possible. Right from the start, he's talking nonstop, jumping into every topic. Work talk, inside jokes, everything. In his head, the more he talks, the faster he'll be accepted. Not exactly how that works. The problem is, he doesn't understand the flow of the conversation. He jumps in at the wrong time, cuts people off, sometimes says things that just don't fit the moment. A few people start looking at each other like, "What is going on?" And he keeps going, thinking just a little more talking will fix it. But the more he tries, the more awkward it gets. The group's natural conversations start breaking apart. People talk less, more silence, and that's when it hits him. He tried to fit in, but stood out in the worst way possible. Some people just do way too much. Story 26. Multitasking and messing everything up. This guy wanted to prove to his boss that he could handle everything. So he decided to do everything at once. When he was given multiple tasks, instead of doing them one by one, he opened all of them at the same time, switching back and forth like he's running an entire system. In his head, this makes him look busy and efficient. At first, it seems fine. He's replying to emails, editing documents, handling data all at once. But after a short while, everything starts falling apart. Emails get sent to the wrong people, files get edited incorrectly, Small details start slipping through. He tries to fix it, but the more he tries, the messier it gets. Simple tasks turn into a chain of mistakes. And when he finally looks back, nothing is done properly. And that's when it hits him. He handled everything in the worst possible way. Some people just get completely ignored. Story 27. Calling yourself the cool kid and getting ignored. This guy walked into a group with one clear goal: become the cool kid. Right from the start, he tries to stand out, talking louder than everyone else, telling stories that sound impressive, even laughing at his own lines like he just said something amazing. In his head, confidence equals attention. He jumps into conversations, adds opinions nobody asked for, tries to create funny moments to get people looking. But instead of reacting, people just keep talking like he's not even there. No laughs, no attention, just this very obvious gap between him and the rest of the group. He keeps trying for a bit longer until he starts realizing something's off, and that's when it hits him. He wanted attention but became invisible instead. Some people fail on day one. Story 28. First day at work, and making a big mistake. On his first day, this guy didn't just want to be fine, he wanted to stand out. He showed up early, dressed sharp, ready to take on anything with full enthusiasm. When he was given an important task, he nodded immediately, thinking this was his chance to impress the boss. At first he worked hard, checking things, making adjustments, but because he wanted to move fast and prove himself, he started skipping a few small checks, and yeah, those small details turned into big problems. By the time the work was sent out, the mistakes started showing. Not just wrong, but affecting other parts of the project too. The whole team had to stop and fix it, and he's just standing there trying to figure out what just happened. And that's when it hits him. His first impression is not something anyone's going to forget. Some people fail online. Story 29. Following a trend the wrong way and becoming the joke. This guy saw everyone around him jumping on trends, so he decided he had to join in. After watching a few videos, he confidently thought, just copy it and it'll be fine. In his head, this was the fastest way to get attention, maybe even go viral. He sets up his phone, gets everything ready, and starts recording. And right from the beginning, yeah, it's off. The timing is wrong. The moves don't match. The expressions are nowhere near the original. But he keeps going thinking nobody will notice too much. Yeah, about that. After posting, his friends start watching pretty quickly. But instead of compliments, they start sending the video back with jokes. Some even edit his clip to make it funnier. And that's when it hits him. He didn't go viral the way he wanted, but for the exact opposite reason. And now, the worst ones. Story 30. Trying to help and making it 10 times worse. This guy sees a messy situation in a crowd and thinks this is his moment to shine. Someone is already dealing with a small issue and he quickly steps in like, I got this. In his head, this is where everyone starts seeing him as the helpful guy. At first the intention is good, but instead of making things easier, he starts adding unnecessary steps, moving things to the wrong place, misunderstanding the problem, and somehow making everything more complicated than before. The person who is handling it now has to stop and fix what he just did. The vibe shifts from okay, small issue to why is this getting worse? People start looking at him, not impressed, just confused. And that's when it hits him. He tried to fix everything but made it unforgettable for all the wrong reasons. Yeah, that's the kind of moment you don't recover from. Story 31. Trying a hard trick in front of a crowd and taking a hard fall. This guy sees a group of people gathered and thinks this is the perfect moment to impress. No one asked, but he steps out with full confidence, getting ready to pull off what he believes is a top-level move. In his head, all he needs is one clean attempt, and everyone will be impressed. He gets into position, focuses, and goes for the trick. The first few seconds actually look fine. A couple of people start paying attention, and then right at the most important moment, everything goes off. He loses balance, the move falls apart, no control, and then, boom! He hits the ground hard right in front of everyone. The sound alone is enough to pull even more attention. There's a second of silence, then a few quiet laughs start coming out, and that's when it hits him. He did land. Just not the way he planned. But yeah, nothing compared to the last one. If you've ever had a moment where you thought, yeah, I really shouldn't have done that. Congratulations, you're officially part of this club. Everyone has at least one moment where they tried to impress and ended up wanting to disappear off the face of the earth. Drop your instant regret story in the comments because trust me, someone's going to read it and think, yeah, I'm not alone. Send this video to that friend who always thinks they're cool. But yeah, not quite. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that are equal parts funny and painful. Just remember, the harder you try to impress, the more you might end up making it worse for yourself.